We are full of concepts and we think we're living, but we're really conceptualizing.
Sea change when you go from being in your mind to being in your heart.
And the Course of Love was about discovering our true identity.
Welcome everyone to our show today, Heart to Heart, how A Course of Love is changing our lives, conversations with A Course of Love readers. And I'm Lynn Kidd. I will be your host today, and we'll give you a little taste of A Course of Love and share some experiences. I would love to welcome our guest for today, joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina, Valerie Althoff. Welcome, Valerie.
Hi.
It's so honored to have you today. Thank you for joining us, Valerie.
Thank you for inviting me, Lynn.
You're very welcome. So I think maybe we can get started if you wanted to share with our viewers a little bit about your personal journey before you actually discovered A Course of Love.
Okay. Well, after having been here several lifetimes, I grew up in Minnesota, a small farm outside of Minnesota, or outside of St. Paul. So I'm a farm girl and no college education. I'm just a simple girl. My spiritual journey pretty much started when I was in church, Lutheran church, Fire and Brimstone, Pastor Anderson. One day he was giving a sermon and he said, God needs your love. And I was about 10. And so, I had to go catechism and stuff like that. So after the sermon, after the service, I went up to him and I said, Pastor Anderson, I said, if God is omniscient, omnipresent, if God is God, then why does God need my love? And I can't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he patted me on the shoulder and said, Valerie, he said, there are some things that we're just not meant to understand. And I thought, oh, that's baloney. I said, so that's been my journey ever since, is to find out why God needs my love.
Oh.
I've been in many states. I've moved 30 plus times in my life. And that has been kind of like my underlying theme of, who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm human, but I've tried really hard to dismiss that in favor of being spiritual. So I have a friend who I was having lunch with one day, and she said, Val, she said, I found a new Bible, and it's called The Way of Mastery. And so, of course, I went out and bought the book, and I love that book. It's beautifully written, and it's just beautiful. And I resonated very deeply with it. But as I finished it, I thought, there's something I'm missing here. I'm missing the peace of mind. So I picked up A Course in Miracles, which has been around for a long time. And I started reading that, and it resonated with me because it taught me about the difference between the whole mind and the separated mind and the ego thought system and stuff like that. So I think that was a very big step for me to learning about the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now I had lunch with that same woman again, and she said, boy, I thought that was the way. The way was the Bible. But she said, somebody just introduced me to this book called A Course of Love. And she said, boy, that's it. So, of course, I went out and bought that one. And at the time, I'd been hosting A Course in Miracles group with about 5 or 6 other people. And at that point, I was slogging through A Course in Miracles. I realized that, okay, I know about the mind. I know that there's something missing again. Now I'm missing something else. So when I picked up A Course of Love, it says this book is written for you. This book speaks to you. And as I read it, I thought, man, it's true. How do they know? How does he know that I'm going through this? So it really spoke to me personally.
You felt like what I'm hearing is like with the Course in Miracles, mind-based and loosening up the mind-based patterns from the ego, and then there was something else ready to move in, and that's
I knew there was a step.
The heart.
Yeah, I figured there must be a step beyond this because there's got to be more than just looking at the mind and the ego.
Yeah, beautiful.
So here I am with a Course in Miracles group, and I told them that I said, I am going to put that book down and pick this one up. And if you don't want to follow me, that's fine, but I'm done with hosting a Course in Miracles group because I want to host a Course of Love group. And I thought, I'm with people who have been miracles people for years and years, and I thought that they'd all walk away, but every one of them followed me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
we all started studying A Course of Love, and we all were just amazed and, you know, told stories about our lives.
That's a familiar story that I've heard with many, that people had Course in Miracles groups. And actually, you know, I did too. I've been in a lot of Course in Miracles groups and had my own in-person group. And eventually, the way opened, and I was drawn to a Course of Love. So that is a sort of familiar story that a lot of Course in Miracles groups have transitioned into Course of Love. It seems to be a natural progression. Mm-hmm. So anyway, thank you for sharing all that. And I thought maybe this could be a good time we could get into A Course of Love. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So would you like to share with us, do you have a powerful line or passage that's really speaking to you right now? And go ahead, and you can.
You asked me that question. Yeah, and I'm thinking, how do I choose one out? This book I have is tabbed and underlined and double underlined and stuff, and I thought, how do I choose one passage?
Well, you could just choose what's speaking to you right now.
Yeah, and right now it's because I grew up thinking the God is in heaven. You know, I mean, I grew up believing that there's a white man on a throne in heaven, and I'm a sinner, and you know, I'll be lucky if I'll ever get there. So to read what I'm going to read this is such a huge life changer for me. It's in the dialogues. It's day 39, Who I Am to You, and it starts on 39:12. Relationship itself is intermediary. It is what you carry, the connection between one thing and another. In this instance, it is the connection between two individual beings in union and relationship, you and me. In order for this link of relationship to exist, there must be two beings for it to link, where two or more are gathered. In other words, there must be a you and a me. In other words, as you are individuated, so too am I. We jointly individuate rather than separate. We can only do this in relationship. We can only have relationship as individuated beings. Both must occur as one. And
beautiful.
to me, to know God is right here. I mean, you know, I'm thinking about writing a book called My Buddy God, because to come so far from God being way out here, and I am so far from that, to realizing that God is right here and relatable. I mean, and that I can sit down and talk to God. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like God is not like sitting on a throne in a faraway, universe somewhere. We don't have to put God on hold. God, the living God is right here, and that's to me what speaks. The kingdom of heaven is within. Yeah, and it's right here and now, fully accessible in this moment. Yeah, so that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it says also that we are accomplished. There's nothing to do. All it takes is willingness, and I'm willing. It just takes, and I realize that A Course in Miracles talks about the mind and the separation of the ego. Well, that's all well and good to learn about that, but you have to take it into the heart for wholeheartedness, because the mind can't do anything without the heart. And the heart is our desire, but the heart needs the mind to come into form, to bring things into form. So to me, it's just a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, and I think at the time the Course in Miracles was written, back in the middle 60s, I think it started in 1965, and didn't get published to 75. So it was the time when that was what we needed at the time. And now we've been given something new, which is a natural progression, as I see it from my own personal experience and perspective, that it's a natural progression, moving into where the mind and heart are joined in wholeheartedness.
That's who we are. We are in union and relationship.
Yes.
So cool.
You want to, is there anything you want to say, just how you're personally integrating this right now into your life, like a personal experience, or how is this, the living God within you, the kingdom of heaven is within you? How is that personally relating to you in your life right now?
Well,
I'm anything.
I'm a feng shui consultant.
Okay.
So
perfect.
Yeah, and I've always believed that in the energy of things, form is energy in pattern. And so when I started picking up A Course of Miracles, I realized that God is energy. And the energy that I've been talking about and believing in is love. And God is love, God is energy. And so I have been wanting to write a book on feng shui for 15 years, and I've been putting it off because I didn't want to add another book to any, millions of books that are out there. But it finally dawned on me, or it finally came to me, that I needed to write a book based on living feng shui. Taking feng shui, taking the energy of feng shui and making it spiritual, making it real, making it a connection, because both courses talk about your inner world, it gets reflected out in your outer world, and that's what feng shui is all about. Your outer world is a reflection of what's inside. So I realized that feng shui is talking about God.
Yeah.
What is within?
That's beautiful. And the whole, I've had a few people I've talked with about feng shui.
Yeah.
I have a friend that had a consultant with it. So that's beautiful. The spaciousness that the whole energy of God and creation, if we can connect with that within ourselves, it does open up that spaciousness without. And so I can see how that would be like a perfect reflection of that. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's a beautiful personal example. And have you written that book yet?
Oh yeah, it just came out in January. I'll plug it.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
The 9 Rooms of Your Life.
Okay, the 9 Rooms of Your Life. Okay, and Valerie Althoff, and they can get that on Amazon, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Val. So we're coming up on our time here. So I just wanted to ask you, did you have any words of wisdom or suggestions for someone brand new coming into A Course of Love?
It says in the very beginning, and I realize it's absolutely true, you cannot read this with your mind. If you read it and think about it, and I know some very deep thinkers, and several of them don't resonate with A Course of Love. And I think it's because they want to think about what's said. And, when my course group transitioned into A Course of Love, we had to pull back and discuss that several times. You can't think about this because it doesn't make sense. You have to read it from your heart. That's
a beautiful suggestion. It does say that in the very beginning, and also in the addendum, Learning in the Time of Christ. It's for the heart. It's not a book to be studied. It's right. We receive the words and we let them enter us through the heart. And so then let go of having to understand them. And letting go of having to analyze and try to figure it out. So thank you, Val. We're running out of time, but I just wanted to thank you so much for taking your time out today to join us. And thanks you very much for being here. And I wanted to give a big shout out to all of our viewers out there. So thank you, and go out and keep shining your light to the world. As we all do. Thank you very much. Thank you.